first of all, I want to say this. So we have set a goal for 100 boxes for Operation Christmas Child. And the last couple of years, I have gotten pied in the face because we made our goal, 100 boxes for this year. We're going to do something different. If we reach 100 boxes, I, a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan, will wear a Green Bay Packers jersey on Sunday. Okay? So I'm just throwing it out there. If you want to see me wear a Green Bay Packers jersey, the arch enemy of my soul.
And a cheesehead?
Well, I don't know if we're going to go that far.
I can provide you a cheesehead.
We'll see. Maybe. Please, let's get those 100 boxes. Let's hit that goal. It's such a worthwhile ministry. Well, we're going to be looking at 1 Kings 18 this morning. We've kind of a one-off sermon here, and I just want to say we're in a little bit of a cultural moment, aren't we? It appears like, many people are losing their faith. We hear all the statistics, we see it on the news. I just read an article called America is Losing Its Religion a couple weeks ago. I've seen friends and family members fall away from Jesus, and maybe you have as well. Sometimes, maybe there's a terrible moral failure and they left the faith, or something happened to them and they had a challenging season in life. But oftentimes what happened is something like my friend will call Tom. I won't use his real name. And Tom's life went a little bit something like this. He grew up in the church, went to a Christian school. He actually worked in ministry for a while. And slowly over the years, he just began to drift away from God. There was a series of events and circumstances and choices he made, where eventually one day Tom is straddling the line between faith and no faith, and there just seems to be a conscious decision of, I'm done with the whole faith thing, I'm done with Jesus, I'm out. And that's where Tom is today, no faith. He would consider himself to be a nun, someone that has no faith whatsoever. There's this cultural kind of talk and theological talk. Missionologists, they talk about the rise of the nuns. That's not the nuns, the N-U-N-S, by the way. It's the rise of the N-O-N-E-S, the nuns. And what are the nuns? Well, they're people who say, I have no affiliation with faith at all anymore in my life. Statistic after statistic shows this isn't true. America, as the article I read, is losing its religion. But I think that is overblown in a lot of ways, and that's what I want to talk about this morning. This is nothing new. Happened in the Old Testament, happened in the time of Jesus' days. The days of Elijah we're going to look at this morning were days of cultural and religious secularism and pluralism. And we're going to look at the story of Elijah this morning and the rise of the nuns in his time, those with no religious affiliation. So how does Elijah react to this? That's what we're going to see. What does God do? And then how do we take this story and its similarities and apply it to our own life and culture today? That's what we are going to do this morning. So let's get to our text. I got to set the stage a little bit. We're jumping into the middle of a book of the Bible, and so let's set the stage. It's been roughly 100 years since King David ruled the united Israel, and this kingdom has been now divided. And there's a nation of Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Ahab is king, and he is a terrible, horrible king. And there's been a run of bad kings in Israel, and they've turned the people away from following God, from following Yahweh, to following these fake gods, these false gods like Baal or Asherah are their names. And he's married to the famous or infamous Jezebel. God is a leading prophet at the time. His name is Elijah. And there has become a great drought in the land because of what Israel has been doing. And Elijah, in chapter 17, told Ahab this is going to happen because of Israel's turning away from God and Ahab's involvement. So Elijah says this to Ahab the king: As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, before whom I stand, there shall be neither dew nor rain these years except by my word. So God has caused this drought, and he's going to use this to turn the hearts of the nation back to himself. And there's an important truth that we're going to find out this morning. It says there can be only one true God. And I like to call this chapter the showdown on Mount Carmel. And you're going to see why. So, Israel led astray about 100 years. Ahab's on the throne. Him and his wife are terrible. And we're going to see that God is going to take this difficult situation and he's going to steer the events of history and he's going to bring everything to a head to have this moment between Ahab and Elijah. Between Ahab, who represents idolatry and Baal and Asherah, and Elijah, who represents the true and living God. So that's where we're at. It says this, chapter 18, verse 1, after many days, the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year of this drought, saying, go show yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain upon the land. God has caused the rain to stop. He's caused the drought to happen. God is the one who's sovereign over the rain, over the harvest, over the sun, not Baal, not any other false god. And so God is putting this plan in motion to turn the nation back to him. So now Elijah begins to look for King Ahab like instructed and meet with him and show him the evil he's done. And it seems by happenstance that Elijah comes across the one guy in Ahab's royal court. It's a guy named Obadiah. He's like the one guy that's still following Yahweh. And lo and behold, Elijah runs into this Obadiah, and they make a plan to get Ahab and Elijah to meet on Mount Carmel. It says this, verse 7. And as Obadiah was on the way, behold, Elijah met him, and Obadiah recognized him and fell on his face and said, it is you, my lord, Elijah. So God's working behind the scenes. He's going to bring the king and Elijah together to have this what's going to be essentially a contest between the two, to show that there can be only one God. So they meet on Mount Carmel, this famous mountain in Israel. And this is what happens. Ahab sees Elijah, and Ahab says to him, is it you, you troubler of Israel? And he answered, Elijah answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you have, King Ahab, and your father's house, because you've abandoned the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Now, who here likes Western movies? This reminds me a little bit of a Western movie. And what we kind of got going on here is this. We're going to have a showdown on Mount Carmel. Okay, I like Westerns. You know, you get Clint Eastwood out there. And you got the bad guy who's taking over the town. King Ahab's trying to blame Elijah for the famine for not worshiping Baal. See, they believe Baal was the storm god and the god of fertility. So when God cuts off the rain, it's a direct attack after Baal. And there's going to be a showdown between these two people. Elijah's like, look, I am not the problem. Trust me, King Ahab. It's you, because you've forgotten to worship the true God and are worshiping a false God. You've forgotten everything that God has done and said and his love for you. And so they're going to have a little